Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. Now, those of you who are on live, as always, I want to know that you're there. So say something in the chat and let us know that we are live and in full color this morning. I am so excited. I am actually in Clarksville this morning. And we have a special guest that we are interviewing. And so I just want to make sure that, oh, yes, everybody's there. Everybody can see. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you. Good morning. Well, good morning, everyone. I am Rachel Brown, and I am the president of the South Hill Aglow Community Lighthouse. And we, like I said, we're in Clarksville this morning. I am with the esteemed Senator Tammy Mulchi. Mulchi, thank you. I knew I was going to get it wrong.
That's okay.
And I am just thrilled at what God is doing and the connection that he has made with us. And so Tammy, as we are going to find out, has founded a nonprofit that the South Hill Aglow is going to spotlight and sponsor during our Unity and Community fundraising gala this year. And as always, I like to interview the founders of our nonprofits that we spotlight so that we can get more insight into what God is doing. God is building unity, and so we get to collaborate and connect with what Senator Tammy is doing. Now, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for coming, those of you who are streaming live, and for those of you watching the replay, those of you that have come in, we're tight-knit in here. I love it. I love it. It's almost a capacity crowd. I love that. It's almost capacity. So I want to thank you. Now, I want to get started, and we are going to hear more from Tammy than you are from me. So let me go ahead and get set up. And I want to kind of move out of the way. I'm just going to ask some questions, Tammy. But before I do that, let's formally introduce you.
Okay.
All right. So Tammy Brinkley Mulchi. Mulchi.
It's okay. We'll get it by the end of the day.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a common problem.
Thank you.
Sometimes I forget.
Say it again. Say it. Mulchi. All right.
You keep saying it wrong, and I'll probably end up saying it wrong by the end of the day. One of us will get it right. I stop and have to think. Trust me. It's okay. It's all good.
Okay. But you know who you are.
I think I do.
Okay.
I might be starting to get a little confused.
Now, Tammy.
Let's just go with Tammy.
Yeah, I'm going to just go with Tammy.
Yeah, let's just do
She
Tammy.
is our senator. And she's founder of the Windsong Foundation. So I do want to read this. Tammy is a fourth generation Mecklenburg County, Virginia resident. Having grown up on a tobacco farm, she has strong roots in our agricultural community. She and her husband, Randy, a Halifax County native, have a combined family of 3 daughters, a son, and 6 grandchildren that are the cornerstone of their life together. Tammy and Randy put their faith in God as a top priority in all decisions of their life, business, and community involvement. We could stop right there, putting God first. Tammy owns and operates a residential construction business and is a successful realtor in Clarksville. You want to give us the name of that realtor?
It's Integrity Real Estate.
Integrity. She worked for almost 2 decades as a legislative aide to both Senator Frank Ruff and Delegate Tommy Wright. She was elected during a special election in January 2024 after Senator Ruff stepped down for health reasons, asking Tammy to step up to continue his work. Not only did he ask you to step up, God asked you to step up as well.
That was the big voice.
Right. 3 years ago, Tammy started the Windsong Foundation to help mentor, and assist victims of domestic violence. Since then, the Windsong Foundation has obtained their 501c3 status and has a vision to assist victims of domestic violence by providing hope, help, and healing through Christ. The Windsong Foundation has a board of directors in which Tammy serves as both founder and president. So there we have our formal introduction, and now we're going to get to the nitty gritty. We're going to ask some things, and you're going to talk. And
Okay.
for those of you who are here and those of you who are watching live, I think we're going to get some nitty gritty information this morning. I can tell. Now, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, now Tammy, if I were to meet you in 2013 or 2014, who would I have met?
All right, I'm gonna try not to get emotional here. In 2013 or 2014, I was a very, very broken person. In 2013, I was successful in taking my life, and I had to be brought back to life. And I was in a coma for 10 days in the hospital. It was a very, very hard time in my life. I didn't know then, but I know now without a doubt that God saved me for a reason. It took me a few years to realize that. And in 2014, I actually got out of the situation I was in that caused that depression, that severe depression that caused me to want to end the pain. And when I first got out of that situation, and when I first had a lot of healing from that, I used to go around and talk to families that had lost loved ones to suicide and tell them that you're not to blame yourself, even though it's so hard to not blame yourself, because in that moment, there's no logical thought in your head. Because at that time, I had a grandchild, I had children I loved, I would have given my life for my children. But in that moment, you're not thinking about them. You're thinking that you're going to make their life easier because you're no longer a burden to them, and all your sadness and all your calls of help, calls out for help. And you're thinking, I just want to end this pain and I don't know any other way. So that's where I was in 2013. And like I said, in 2014, I got out of that situation, only not that I hadn't tried for the 30 years that I was there. Not that I didn't leave many times before, only to go back for a number of reasons, like many women do. They say the average times that we leave and go back is about 7. But in 2014, sitting at my desk in my office in my house, and I heard a voice of God say, pack a suitcase, get in your car, and don't look back. And that's what I did. And did I make every horrible, terrible, awful decision between 2014 and 2015? Every single one. Every single one. And that's one of the many reasons that I wanted to start a foundation, so that I could just hold the hand of women and say, that's not a good decision. I've been there. I know what you're going through, and I want to help you make a good decision. So that's what I was like in that time.
You know, your testimony about the suicide attempt, that's what impacted me the most. You know, when I met you at the domestic violence vigil hosted by Hattie Farrar, just listening to your testimony then, just it's already such a traumatic recognition of what women and some men are going through, but that impacted me the most. And so for someone that's watching because you've been there in that deep, dark hole. What is the level of devastation? What's the mindset that takes you to that point where you lose sight of your reason to live and all you see is a reason to die? What can you talk about that, especially for those that are watching? Someone is out there right now at that same point.
Well, the way you feel at that point is that you are in so much pain. You may have tried to leave so many times unsuccessfully because there was a reason, one, two, or three, that you couldn't leave. It could be financial, it could be children, it could be, and let me explain the children part. So let's say you have children at home and you leave. Okay, so probably you're being controlled with finances if you're a woman. And so it's hard for you to be out there with your children and trying to survive if the finances are being controlled, which I'd say are most of the time. Then you don't know if when your children are with or not with you, are they safe? You have no idea. So, and then probably the abuser has the ability to get custody of the children, possibly because they have the power, the money, the ability to get a lawyer. You may not have the ability to get a lawyer. And so then you're at the risk of losing your children. And so for me, it was always easier to stay, know my children were safe, be with my children all the time, than to take a chance of losing my children. And so, that's what we're faced with. And so, not only when you're in these situations do you get depressed, you also have a serious, steady decline of your health. I mean, I stayed sick all the time, all the time. I was always at the doctor. I mean, your health just totally starts declining. I see it all the time with the women that I mentor. I mean, they have one health condition after the other after the other. They're always at the doctor. And I'm like, if you just get out of this situation, I promise you, you will start to get better. Because I had everything you could name, and I don't have hardly any health problems now. I mean, I don't take, besides stuff for PTSD, I'm hardly on any medications now for anything that I used to have problems with. I mean, it's just a decline in health. So you're sick, you're depressed, you don't see any way out. You just cannot see any other way out except to just end it. You just want to be out of pain. And you don't see, even being a Christian, even being a grandmother, even being a mother, even being a daughter, all of these people love you. You're loved, but you just want the pain to end, and you don't know any other way to do it.
So God wouldn't let you die. And so that's immeasurable love right there.
Right.
Can you describe that immeasurable love, knowing that he wouldn't let you die? In fact, you had died,
Yes, right?
And he brought you back.
Right.
That's immeasurable to me. Can you talk about that?
Well, it's, like I said, I don't think I realized it till much later. And I mean, the love I feel from God right now is so immeasurable, I can't even describe it.
Right.
And, that came about the realization. I mean, God has been in my life from the day I was born. I mean, I grew up in a Christian family. But the older I get and the more outside of all of this, just the more I realize not only is it immeasurable, I can't imagine people that don't have it in their lives. And I just think about that every single day. Like, what do people do that don't have this immeasurable love? They have it, they just don't realize it, and they don't feel it, and they don't use it to help others. I don't understand that. I can't even comprehend it.
Amen. So the birth of the Windsong Foundation, and I hear the word mentor. You mentor women. Why did you name, and I call Windsong your baby, why did you name at Windsong?
Okay, so I have to go back a little bit. So like I said, after I got out in 2014, I continued to just make all these bad decisions and just kept spiraling. The depression didn't just go away.
Okay.
And so I was still suicidal. My two amazing, wonderful grown daughters could see me just continuing to deteriorate. And so they had a little intervention. And I have to laugh because they did research. And one of my daughters, who owns the cottage barn right there, she loved Dr. Phil. So she got on the Dr. Phil website, and she says, okay, what would Dr. Phil do? And so Dr. Phil was sending all these people to a place called the Ranch in Tennessee. And so my daughters called me up and said, pack all your favorite Amish wear. And you're going to a place called the Ranch in Tennessee, and we're driving you tomorrow, and be ready. And if you say no, then you're not going to be our mom anymore.
Okay.
And so I did as told. And the reason you have to wear Amish wear is pretty much, and I'm not knocking the Amish, but you have to wear like nothing. It has to be long sleeve, long pants. No revealing, no anything. And so we went, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I got for like 2 months the best therapy, the best treatment, every kind of therapy that you've heard of and never heard of. Every moment of my life since the day I walked out of that door has been what I call a Jesus moment. It just so happened that when I arrived at the ranch, they do a evaluation of you. People are there for every reason. You could be a drug addict, you can be a alcoholic, you could be a sex addicted human, you can be, if you can name it, they treat it. And people come there not only from this country, but all over the world. And so I was very blessed that Dr. Phil liked that facility. When I arrived, if you're there for, like manic depression, then they do this evaluation on you and you score a number. And no one had ever scored a number as high as mine as far as depression. And so they really evaluated me as like no hope for recovery. And it just so happened that week that I arrived, they had just been approved to do experimental treatment with ketamine for depression. And that is, it's really like something that vets use, but it was, they had just learned that it was a potential help for depression. And so I got approved to use that treatment. You could only use it if you had never used drugs. And I had never in my whole life even tried a drug. And so it was I got like 6 infusions. And every time I got one, I like started to become myself again. And when I arrived, I could not even carry on a conversation with anybody. I couldn't speak a sentence. I could not look anybody in the face. Mm-hmm. I was not anything like the person that I should have been and used to be. And I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I just couldn't even, I had left everything behind when I left my home. I didn't try to get anything. Everything I worked for 30 years, my $1 million home, my multi-million-dollar business, everything I'd ever had. I gave my daughter the cottage barn that I had started. Everything I ever had, I had nothing. And because I couldn't even converse with people, I couldn't function. And so I just started to be myself again. I started to find my way again. I started to be able to communicate again, all as I started to get all this therapy and all this help. And it was 24 hours a day. We slept a few hours, but other than that, we were being treated. We were in group therapy. We were in individual therapy. We were in trauma therapy. And it was just the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. And so then when I came back, there was a plan of what I was going to do. I signed a contract saying these are the things I'm going to do. And that's when my life really started to come back together.
So Windsong, is
The,
that the
oh,
name
the
of
Wind
it?
Song. I'm sorry. Okay, I got off track. It happens all the time. Okay, so when I was there at the ranch, I actually also have, as a teenager, I had an eating disorder for 17 years. And so they house you together with people with like problems. And so everybody in the house I was housed in had an eating disorder problem that they've been dealing with all their life. So we all had different problems we were there for. Some were alcoholics, some were drug addicts, but we all had been dealing with eating disorders our whole life. So that was our likeness. But the home was the Windsong Foundation, the Windsong House. And so it was the first time in my whole life that I was with women who loved me unconditionally, totally, completely. I was honest. After living 30 years, pretending I had a great family, putting on a face to not only my family, but the rest of the world, that everything was great, that I was living a double life. To the rest of the world, I showed everything was wonderful. But when I walked in those doors, everyone embraced me. They loved me no matter what. I told the truth. And those women are still, from 2015, we still have a group on Facebook. We keep up, they were from all over the country. And they are some of the dearest, and I wanted to honor them in this way. Sorry, I got way off track
we
with
needed
that.
to hear all of that.
I got way off.
Because I'm hearing, and we could all agree, it wasn't just the domestic violence, but it was a lot. And so, does the Windsong Foundation address more than domestic violence?
I think we will. I mean, I have big goals.
Okay.
Do you go ahead and tell you about that?
Sure.
Okay.
First to know.
You know I'm the. So, what my big vision is I want people to come to the Windsong Foundation, and I want them to rebuild their life just like I was able to rebuild my life, no matter what they're dealing with. Because domestic violence encompasses so much. You may be dealing with rebuilding your financial situation. You may be needing job training. You may be needing, you'll definitely be needing therapy, counseling, whatever you need to start your life over, so that you might need an attorney. Whatever you need to start your life over, so you never have to go back and live that life again, where you can be honest and you have somebody to trust. That's what we want to be able to do. We want you to walk in the door and never have to go back to a life that you were living. That's the goal.
Holistically. So what does the foundation look like now? Is it a home? Is it a service? Is it a group? What's it look like?
It looks like me and Priscilla over there.
Okay.
Doing a whole lot of it's really me mentoring women and us referring out to services.
Okay.
And it's been a lot of me holding hands and going to the courthouse and sitting with you in the waiting area and saying, like, this is what's going to happen next, and calling Hattie Farrar and saying, I've got somebody that's going to be at the courthouse. Will you reach out if you hadn't already heard about this? And it's mostly going there when they've gotten to the point where a lot of women don't know what the services are because they didn't know about Hattie or who the victim witness is in the county they're in. And so we're very at the very beginning, even though it's been around a while. It's been a lot of, and I probably do some things I shouldn't do, like ride with women to pick up their children at the drop-off at the exchange because they're scared. It's just holding hands and taking those calls in the middle of the night, like, this is happening to me. What do you think about that? And what should I do? And I don't give advice, you must do this. I say, well, this is what happened to me, and yeah, I didn't make the right decision. And so it's mostly referring people out and you know, I've done some things I probably shouldn't have done. You know, like I've loaned people my own personal money to help them get an attorney. You know, when things have just gone really bad for them. You know, it's just being there. But we have big goals.
And I'm glad we get to be a part of this
Yeah.
to help support the vision that God has given you. I have one more question. Is there one more bit of information that you can give that might save someone's life?
I think that information is that there's always somebody that's out there that's willing to help you. And that only God can save you from the situation you're in. And that I promise you, if you walk into a church, there's somebody there that will love you. And there's always somebody out there that can help you get out of these situations. You just have to look for who that is. That feels like a non-answer to me right now, though.
No.
Call the Windsong Foundation. We'll love on you. We'll find you help. I promise that. And sometimes my being a senator and being the founder of the Windsong Foundation end up kind of working together, because like I've been mentoring one particular woman in Nottoway County, and she was also having problem getting her child support. And so as a senator, I was able to look into the child support through child support enforcement and still hold her hand through some tough times. So there's always hope. There's always help. You just need some help finding it, and we're there for that.
Amen.
Even though we don't have a true facility yet, we don't have all the things we need yet. And, you know, I think God has called me to do this work, and then he called me to even a further position in being in the Senate, because then now I can actually help with policy to change some of the things that are so broken. But it's a big task, and I'm still figuring out how to make it all work. But we'll get there, because God has called me to do this work.
For such a time as this.
For such a time as this.
Well, I would like to open it up to questions from the room or questions from the stream. You might have a question that wasn't asked. And I just want to take these last few moments to open it up to you and to you. If you have a question on the stream, just put it in your comments. We'll be able to see it. And if you have a question in the room, let us know.
All right. Tammy, what type of physical illnesses did you experience when you were going through some of the rough times?
You name it. I had stomach issues. At this point in my life, I think I've had 13 surgeries. And they were nothing major, but they were just like little things, like stomach problems, like, oh my gosh, headache problems, like migraines. I was on every migraine medication you could name. I went to Duke. I went to MCV. I went everywhere trying to figure out what it was, and nobody could ever figure it out. Do I have migraines now? None. I mean, it was always something. It was just always something. It was one thing after another, after another, after another. And it was really nothing but stress, depression, anxiety. It's abuse causes many physical ailments. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In my former position, I saw a lot of children growing up in homes. And a lot of it, in that case, was a lot of generational poverty.
Yes.
But the cycle would repeat and repeat and repeat from generation to generation. Do you have any ideas about how you get in the midst of it and break the cycle?
Yes. So I have been talking to Christine Pennington, who has Resilient Pathways in Chase City. And we have been talking about partnering up. and having a prevention piece and what I do, which is the, after, what do I want to say? It's not prevention, but it's,
Maintenance.
oh, I can't think of the word. I'm sorry. But we need both. And so she would work with the prevention piece where we get into the schools really and start working with the children and the families, because that's what she does. She works with families. And whether she gets those families out through referrals through the courts or referrals through the schools, and starts working with the families. It's all about prevention, and we have to have that piece as well as the, after it's too late and they're already in the middle of these situations. But prevention is huge, and we have to have that piece as well.
What
Yeah,
was her last name?
Pennington. She has resilient pathways. They're in Chase City, but we have talked extensively about partnering up so that we can start, at the beginning and not just be here for the after it's too late and they're already in the middle of it. His children do suffer. Yes, absolutely. And then, like I said, it's repeated over and over. And I'm sure that Hattie sees a lot of that.
And following up, do you see options programs available to help the abuser break the cycle of what's going through?
I think that, I think that that's something that we want to provide. We want to, like I said, we want them to, that's another part of what we want to hope to provide down the road, is something that we have programs for abusers. And I'd love to see our churches get involved with that piece. Like I said, as I go further and further, especially in the being a legislator, I see so much that we're doing wrong in the fact that we need to be not just throwing money at things, but as leaders in our communities, we need to be out there working with breaking these cycles and helping people and coordinating ways that we can stop. And it's in everything. It's not just domestic violence. It's in everything. We need to be out in our communities with programs that help break the cycle. So we're not just every generation doing everything over and over and over. I mean, it's a problem in everything, in crime, in domestic violence, in education. I mean, it's everything. It's our families are broken, and we need to find a way to be the hands and feet of God as Christians to get in our communities and work with these people to break these cycles. Absolutely, that needs to be a part of it.
We have a question
Okay.
from Pastor Shalita Bateman. She says, in what ways can the local community help or volunteer to push your vision along?
Well, like I said, once we have enough funds to get us a center open, I would love to see it, blossom with volunteers so that we don't have to spend our funds on, people there to work. Of course, we would need some professionals to do the I already have a list of some volunteers willing that have professional license that may be retired or just want to do some work there. And that's great. So we're ready to go once we have enough funds to do, open at least a walk-in for now. But I'd love to have a shelter also one day.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're here. We are hosting the Unity and Community Fundraising Gala for the Windsong Foundation. Save the date. Could somebody hand me a flyer? It is April Thursday. Thank you. It's April the 24th.
That's upside down.
Yep. I love it.
She didn't need 40 seconds.
It's April the 24th at the Dogwood. Thank you. And we want some table hosts. We want some people that are committed to making this vision have access to more funds. And this is just one way of letting everyone know you're here. That's part of it,
Yeah.
of the awareness. Oh, we have another question.
I am asking this question on the premise of assumption. What did it take? You're a woman of God, clearly.
Yes.
What did it take for you to be able to forgive your abuser?
Oh, that's a tough one. It took a long time.
And how important is it to be able?
Well, I'm going to tell you, having a protective order helped me to have that separation and time to just be separated. You know, he's still the father of my children and my grandchildren's grandfather. And so my grandchildren love him. And so it's important for me to accept that. And so that was really the premise for the forgiveness. It's hard, not gonna lie. But that's, and I don't want to hurt my children ever. It's hard for me to talk about it here in the community where they live and he lives, because I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm not that kind of person, but I feel it's important to speak up. And so it's a balance I have to find. And so I don't get into the dirty details. But I do have to speak up for people that need to hear it in order to help people. And so I try to find a nice balance where I don't talk about the details, but I talk about the important parts, because I don't want to hurt my grandchildren or my children. I think they have to tell their own story if they have one, and they want to. Does that help? Yeah. It's necessary.
Any other questions? This is excellent. Thank you for your openness, for making it okay, for giving us permission to be vulnerable so that we can be healed.
Yes, and one thing, it's sexual and domestic violence and abuse is one of the least reported crimes. And so it's because people like me are afraid to go out and be vulnerable and talk about it. And so therefore victims are afraid to go out and report it. And it's scary. I mean, you're scared when you're in those situations. So you're scared to go out and report it or try to get help. And so I want to say, don't be scared. You have to get help, because it can be frightening, but people are out there willing to help. And every county has a victim witness advocate, and they're there to help you and help you maneuver the system and know what the steps are and how you get help and what you should do.
Anyone else? We're gonna close out in prayer. Anything else you want to say?
No, I could say a lot, but I'll stop. We'll save it for the gala, or gala,
Yes.
whichever way you say that.
Moki.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever. Gala.
I want to thank you all for coming. Truly, your presence, it is making an impact, because just us becoming more and more aware of what God is doing and our part in how we can connect and collaborate. God is using us
Yes.
to help you. So my prayer is for us to stay connected.
God brought us together in the weirdest of ways.
Absolutely. And I do want to say something about that, because Hattie Farrar, thank you for coming. She asked the South Hill Aglow to be part of the vigil last year, and she asked me to read the names, and the Lord knows I did not want to read the names, but she helps me to see the value of remembering. And so I was there, and I got the pleasure of hearing part of your testimony and meeting you. And she saw it on my face. Hattie saw the wheels turning, but God had a divine setup for us. And so thank you. Thank you. God has a divine setup for all of us. And so we'll stay connected. We are preparing now for the gala, which is in April, but we're preparing now. And so tickets are available now. You're going to hear more and more, and stay connected, because your part, our part, it matters. We're all doing this together. Thank you for this.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all so much.
We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. And we're signing off now.